Good morning, everybody. The Committee on Parole is called to order. Today is Wednesday, March the 12th, 2025, 9:19 a.m. The panel this morning, my name is Cheryl Renata, serving as chair. My colleagues on the committee this morning, sitting to my left is Vice Chair Stephen Prater, to my right is Mr. Pete Freeman. We are at Loyola University this morning, and I want to thank President Cole for having us and hosting us here today. I'd like to thank our folks and our colleagues at Probation and Parole for helping us out today. Thanks for being here. And the students who have chosen to come, and we'll see students in and out all day today, and I'm really excited that they'll get the opportunity to observe our process. We're ready to begin our first case, and that is we will be remotely at Louisiana State Penitentiary. Our staff is at GOC headquarters in Baton Rouge, monitoring our YouTube channel. But I'd like to get the staff and then go. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Darrell Vanoa, I'm the warden.
Rochelle Ambo, Deputy Warden.
Reginald Admiral, classification.
And Jody Sturgeon, Program Consultant.
Thanks, Warden Benoit, for accommodating us this morning. I believe our first case is Mr. Branch. Mr. Branch, is that you?
Me here.
Mr. Branch, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number, please.
My name is George Branch, number 296088.
Good morning. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize some folks that are here with us in the room at Loyola today, who are here in support. We have Hannibal Branch, your brother, Pamela Branch, a sister, niece, Ebony Branch, and family friends, Amy Richard, Sybil Richard, Robert Richard.
Richardson? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I said Richard. And Lisa Finch. And at the appropriate time, we'll ask Amy has indicated she'd like to speak, as well as your brother. First, I'll read some identifying information into the record, Mr. Branch, and then we'll get started on our interview process. Mr. Branch, you are classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 165-year sentence, having been sentenced in Orleans Parish for armed robbery 4 counts. So count 1, you were sentenced April 29, 1992. For counts 1 and 2, you received a 55-year sentence. For counts 3 and 4, you received a 55-year sentence. And for counts 5, as a habitual offender, a 55-year sentence. So altogether, that's 165 years. It has been determined you were parole eligible on August 23rd, 2016. Then your adjusted good time release date is in September 2102. Is that information correct?
I think it is.
It's okay. So your case was assigned to me, Mr. Branch. So first, before we get started in hearing from those that want to speak on your behalf, we want to hear from you. We want you to tell us what led you to prison, what you do, why you think you're deserving of parole consideration for an early release.
What do I do?
What did you do?
Oh, it's my,
Why you in prison, Joey?
oh, for armed robbery, like you just mentioned.
Tell them what you did about the armed robbery.
All I know is I went to trial for it. And I think they deliberated about 45 minutes after people took a stand over. It came a verdict saying guilty for all charges, all 5 counts.
They want to know, did you do it, what you're here for? Did you do the armed robbery?
No.
Tell them about that.
It seemed that I approached these people though. That's in my head, called to my mind. I approached them, but we met each other. And they asked me questions, you know, they don't do that. He said their car wouldn't start. And I told him it's not my car. I'm gonna check the trunk to see if there have any cables in the car. He said, no, he's going on, do what you're gonna do. I said, what? He said, you know, rob us. I said, who? He said, me and my mom, him and his mother. And he wound up giving me his Raiders windbreaker, and she wound up giving me her pocketbook. But I told him I don't want nothing from him. I said, your son said they got a car won't start, need to jump. She ain't want to hear none of that. She said, son, I got no money. She said, she take care of me. If I got money to give him, give it to her. And I wouldn't give her no money either. I just laughed about it.
Hey, Mr. Grant, I'm gonna help you out in a few minutes. I'm just gonna read, I hear what you're saying, and we'll read what's in the record. But tell us why you believe after, you're in jail, why do you think you're worthy and rather deserving of a parole consideration for release?
Well, I really didn't want nothing from those people. It seemed I had reasons that we got into it for some type of way. It's 5 counts, 3 robberies. They say count 1 and 2 is supposed to be Jerry River and Denise Sauls. That's supposed to be charges done before. They claim I committed some more robberies the next year, which was about 2 months later. I had been locked up in jail at that time, and they didn't mention to me about anything about armed robbery or anything. So I was released for auto theft that I had. I was released for auto theft. But during the time for auto theft, I didn't get a conviction. They threw it out. They threw the charge out. And the reason why I'm bringing it up that I was talking to these women. It seemed on November 23rd, 1991. But I don't think I really approached them for real though. It seemed I went over there where they were. And she asked me if I wanted her purse. I told her no. I said, I just want you to go in it. She said, this is her purse. She can go into it if she wants to. So I walked off. And she looked around and saw I had to walk off. And she called me back. So I went back to see what she wanted. She said, you wanted my purse, right? I said, no, I just want you to take the gun out of there. She said, you wanted my purse. She said, you're not robbing me, I'm giving it to you. So she wanted to give me her pocketbook and went over to her cousin, the niece, and got the niece pocketbook and brought it to me and said, take hers too. But the niece had just told her he didn't ask for mine. I asked for hers either. I asked for hers, but I asked for hers while her back was turned. She turned around, but she wanted to draw her gun out on me. She had a chance to throw it out because I didn't have a weapon at all. They claimed I had a 38 snub nose. At least Jerry River did. But I didn't have no weapon.
Mr. Branch.
Yeah.
Mr. Branch, I'm gonna ask Warden Van Oyden to tell us a little bit about your time in prison. So I'd like to hear from Warden Van Oyden.
Okay, how y'all doing today? George has been here, 33 years. He's doing well now. We have Mr. McKay from the mental health. He's taken his medication now for a long time. When he had a lot of adjustment problems. He's only had one write-up in the last 10 years. He doesn't have any programming. He doesn't think he has the educational capacity to do any programming. And, he's on his medication now. And as long as he takes his medication, he does well. And we have Mr. McKay, if y'all like that, talk to him about, the mental health part of it.
If you could hear from him, that would be helpful. Mr. McKay, we realize that in the record reflects a mental health level of fear 3. Can you explain that to us?
Sure. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Good morning to all that are on the board. My name is Sam McKay. I'm the mental health director here at LSP. Mental health level care 3 is an SMI. He has a severe mental illness, and he is actually being treated successfully at this point in time, as Warden Benoit alluded earlier. He's being treated successfully. He's on a cocktail of medication, which includes Benadryl, Prozac, Haldol, Zyprexa, trileptal, and propranolol. He's doing really well. He's actively taking his medication, and he is compliant with all medication. And in addition to that, he is actually doing well. There's no side effects as a result of the medication. So we feel like the regimen as set is successful. And so he is suffering with schizophrenia, which is a lifelong debilitating illness. However, like I said, and as Warden alluded to, he's doing really well at this time. Overall, his prognosis / progress of treatment is good. He's participating fully in all of the assessments and sessions that are afforded to him by both area clinicians as well as the provider team that's involved in his care and case at this moment.
And, you know, I noticed, one of the notes that I did make in my, review of his record was that he does have very little program and more than he might not have the capacity to do so.
It's the program,
To do the
educational program.
educational program. He doesn't think he can do it.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I guess your question specifically to that point is what, ma'am? I'm sorry, I missed it.
In the record, some time ago, he refused substance abuse treatment and other programs. Would you attribute that to his mental illness?
Not directly, but maybe indirectly. Maybe at that point in time, maybe he was not doing so well and not stable at that point in time, which makes it that is very difficult to determine if the information I'm receiving is that that's really being sent to me, or is this something that's going on within me in terms of internal stimuli? That is kind of very consistent with schizophrenia.
And Sam, he says he has trouble waking up in the morning.
Yes. And that could be the medication. Now, he just recently had a medication adjustment, which should have kind of exacerbated those symptoms.
Does he live in general population?
Yes, ma'am. He's in general population at this time.
He lives in Eagle 3.
All right, thank you. So I don't know, for the record and for those who are present and watching this, I wanted to just go over a little information to get it into the record. He was talking about his armed robbery. So it's true, he was arrested November 23rd, 1991 for counts 1 and 2. Shortly after midnight, and leaving the port call, two ladies, Geraldine Riviera and Denise Suarez, were walking toward their car on Esplanade. Mr. Branch approached him from behind with a 38 revolver, demanding their purse. They took the car keys and also a 22 that was in the vehicle, along with a 38 that was in the car. I think the 22 was in the handbag. Counts 3 and 4 was, as he indicated, a couple of months later, in January of '92, a lady by the name of Leila King and her son Dwayne were getting in their car. Mr. Branch drove up, got out of his car, pointed a gun at them, at Mrs. King, and demanded her purse. And then the last count 5 was also on that same day. A lady was walking her 12-year-old child to school. They were walking towards Uptown. Mr. Branch drove up, got out of the car, pointed a gun, and demanded all of the money. As I mentioned, he was a second offender. His first offense was possession of a stolen auto in 1990. So there's quite an extensive juvenile record as well. Starting at the age of 10, he had arrests at age 10, 12, 13, 14, 16, the last being at age 16 for 3 counts of murder. He was convicted in that case. He received a 2-year DOC sentence. He was a juvenile. He was released to his mother's custody in 1999. Mr. Branch, do you remember taking the substance abuse, starting out to take the substance abuse class at Angola?
I took anger management through the years.
Good. So
The last time I was at TU, I went a couple of times, but I didn't really go to it like every time they called. I wanted to just lay up in the cell, but I've been through it already. I had a certificate, but it's been so long. I don't know where the certificate at.
Yeah, I don't have it either. I didn't see it in the record where you finished it, so I don't know that you did. But I'm glad to hear that you completed anger management.
Not the last time that I've been there. That was at TU. I was going since I've been at Camp D, and all of a sudden they stopped calling me. I thought because of my age, I'm old and gray, so I guess they didn't even want to put up with it too much. They think I'm grown, I'm old now.
So how old are you, Mr. Branch?
53,
53. How long?
33 years.
33 years. All right. You know, when we do this, we talk to the people at the prison and ask them how you're doing. Like Warden Benoit says, your prison record says you're improving and you're doing better. Not talking about your conduct record. But it also, there's an indication that you need some more programs. You need to take some more of those programs. What would you say to that?
I know I needed programs because I don't have no education. I took education as a juvenile, but I was in LTI, and they said I didn't pass none of the tests, but they gave me the job anyway. They said the state gonna pay me from working. I guess that's what they did. I went home with about
Okay.
maybe $1,800.
Mr. Branch, if it's okay with you, I'd like to ask some of the folks that are here with us today that want to speak for you. We're going to hear from them right now. All right, we're going to hear from your brother, Hannibal Branch. You want to step up here? I guess.
Morning, bud.
So for the record, sir, just state your name and your relationship to George and tell us what you want us to know.
My name is Hannibal Branch. I'm the
I got it.
brother of George Branch. And I'm be asked to speak about the best I can, And y'all can see that he has a mental problem. All his life he's been out of trouble. We all been made mistakes since we was young. We grew out and we learned that it was wrong. But in his case, he just have that mental problem where he don't understand. Sometimes he don't remember what he done. He don't remember why he did it. But as far as for certificates and stuff, the condition he's in now, he wouldn't be able to get any certificates or anything. He can't see himself make go through it. But if it was up on his release or whatever, I see to myself that he had a residence, a job, I go to church. Church take him in and or mental state, I see a psychiatrist myself. They willing to take him on as well. My mom just passed out last night. We spoke there. He made it home. She died right after she realized he was coming up for parole. He just killed me for the emotional. 32 years is a long time. What I'm saying? He didn't kill nobody. Hurt nobody. Nobody was injured or nothing. I don't know what happened. But nobody got hurt. He was still wrong for whatever took place, but 32 years, that's a long time. And he, like he said, he on great. He's hungry. Hell, dog by itself is enough to keep you from doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? All of this. Including this is a cocktail. That's hell dog plus. He can't get this. But I take full responsibility if y'all would, finding y'all off the ground of parole. And I would make him up, keep him out of trouble. Like, I was in trouble myself. I got baptized and my mom helped me. And the rest of my family, my friends, I do the same thing. I help a lot of my friends change their life. And that's my brother. So I'll be more forward towards him than anybody. Like I said, 30-something years, I think, he learned his lesson. Anybody will learn his lesson by now. 30-something years. If he didn't learn the lesson, I can't say nothing else, but I'm willing to take full responsibility. I have a 2-bedroom apartment, I'm in the gaming residence and whatever else you might need.
Thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. I'm sorry, I didn't know that you lost your mother last month. I'm sorry that you know.
Thank
You do have children? We look alike the next. Morning. Good morning. Okay,
That and old my uncle said, and I am willing to house him as well. And I'm a person that's always pushing other people and of course myself, but I help a lot of people do better in life, basically. They have so many programs out here that he can get the program, whatever program he needs and education he needs out here free. I'm sorry.
you did good, that's no problem. Well, for the record, whoever was offended by my brother, on his behalf, I would like to say sorry for whatever happened, you know. I would like to say that. For the record. It will never happen again.
any questions?
Amy is from the Renata.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I was gonna let you listen. Good morning, my name is Amy Richard, and I have been, driving to Angola with Mr. Branch's mother for over 10 years. We have become very good friends. And, I met, George several times as we've been visiting. I have someone that I visit in Angola. And his mother was visiting him, and often we would be in the same visiting shed. And I've gotten to talk to George several times over the past 10 or so years. I would like to say that he is, in general, a quiet person. So, you know, he's, as you can tell by the way he was representing himself, he's really has a more of a gentle spirit. I will say this, one thing that his mother often said to me that she remembers about her son is that he would always bring her a flower. He would bring her a flower and lay it on her pillow, or bring her a flower and surprise her, even if it was just something picked outside, you know, whatever. And he has a gentle heart. This man has a gentle heart. I don't know the story about the past and all of that. I know who he is now. And after a 2-hour drive to Angola and a 2-hour drive for many, many years with his mother, she has expressed, she told me a little bit about all of these people. She definitely spoke well of her son and that part of his heart that's very kind. And Mr. Hannibal here, who I've also gotten to know because he has ridden with us to go visit. He has a caretaker heart. He is ready to take his brother in. He told me just the other day, my brother's not leaving the house without me. If he comes home, I'm going to make sure that he stays out of trouble. He will be with them. He will be looked after. Mr. Hannibal has also spoken to his doctor that is willing to take on Mr. George Branch as a patient. I have been reaching out to the doctor this last week to get the letter. I think he's just been busy, but we are looking into making sure that he has proper medical care when he comes home. And I am hoping that 30 years of him being able to reflect on his past is enough time. And that he would be willing to grant him time to be with his family. This was his mother's dying wish. She died very suddenly. We did not know this was going to happen. It has been a really hard time on their family and definitely on George. So I'm asking you to please consider reuniting this family today. Thank you very much.
Mr. Rudy.
My name is John Revere. My wife is Geraldine Revere. She was the victim of the robbery that Mr. Branch committed upon her. And Denise Flores to the front. No offense to you people. Sorry to get up. Sorry, address your comments to the board, please. Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to let them know it's not the first one. Mr. Branch said my wife gave him the first naturally. He got out of a vehicle that was occupied with two other men. He put a gun at her stomach. He grabbed her purse, both of them. He forced her to a car and he says, "We're going to have a party." The one girl is going to have a good time. My wife told me that needs to witness it. Since then, my wife has passed away. But I always told my wife, never go to a second crime scene. Die in the street, never get in the car, you never survive. And she did. A man walked by with the dog barked. Mr. Branch turned, she fled. That's what saved her life. If she would have gotten that car, I know she would have been raped, maybe even murdered. They might not want to hear that, but that's the facts. She was very fortunate. She was never the same after that. It was a very devastating thing. Not only that was bad, that was the worst thing. But I lost the car, it was newly automobile insurance, it was a lot. She went to trial. It was devastating. It was all on me and my family. He's not telling the truth about it. He put it back. He took her purse, took her car, he crashed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rudy. Any other questions? We have, Suarez has also voiced opposition. Victim in the count 3 and 4, Ms. Lillian King Shields instances. And Julia from count 5 says she was unopposed to the law consideration.
Move that we go into an executive session.
Motion.
Thank
And second, the opposition will be in executive session. Just a few minutes to discuss confidential matters. So stand by. Objection is not.
I make a motion that we return from executive session.
We have a motion by Mr. Freeman, second by Mr. Prater to return from executive session. Without objection, we will be in regular session at 9:51 a.m. Mr. Branch. We are prepared to vote, Mr. Branch, and I'll be voting first. I've listened to what everybody's had to say today, particularly Mr. McKay, who's been working with you. And I do applaud that you have, your prison has improved in the past 10 years, as more than Roy has said. It's gotten significantly better in terms of your conduct record. I have to tell you, and those who are here today, there was an act passed in 2024, it's Act 11 of the 2024 legislative session, that currently makes Mr. Branch eligible for parole consideration due to some lack of program. He lacks the pre-release program that is required by that act, substance abuse, education, or treatment that's required, and some educational understanding of medication limitations. Even though he is a low risk, I'm going to have to deny his parole today based on Act 24 and ineligibility. But I will say that Mr. Branch is, he says it's old. I think he's at 53, he's young enough to take advantage of those program opportunities as they're made available to him. And he will have an opportunity to come back before a parole panel once he's got some programming under his belt. But today, lacking those programs, I think it could be a public safety risk if he doesn't get those. So my vote today is to deny parole. Mr. Prater.
I concur.
Mr. Freeman.
I concur.
All right, Mr. Branch, you've got some work to do, sir. I hope we get to see you again soon. Good luck to you.
Okay,
Make those gorgeous.
all right.
For our next case, Mr. Vince.
Good morning.
Morning, sir. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and VOC number, please.
My name is Terry Bryce Vince, 394661.
Have counsel with you this morning.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning, everyone, and thank you for your time today. My name is Alex Lees. I'm with the law firm Milbank LLP, and I'm here for Mr. Vince. If it's okay with the committee, I'd like to reserve some time for a summation at the appropriate moment during today's proceedings. Thank you.
So, Mr. Vance, let me read some information into the record. You're classified as a first felony offender. You currently serving life sentence for a first-degree murder conviction in St. Anthony Parish. You were originally sentenced in February 1998 to life without parole. You were resentenced in August of 2024 to life with parole. Let me acknowledge, before we get started, let me acknowledge some of the folks who are here on your behalf. We have on Zoom, Mr. Kerry Myers with the Parole Project. Here with us at Loyola, we have Mr. Andrew Hunley, who will be speaking also at the appropriate time. And of course, we have Mr. Lees, your attorney. We have at Angola, David Galfano, Lauren Note, Anna Valadas, Emily Zielinski, Beatrice Vince, Janira Vince, Shira Vince, Denisia Jackson, Miracle Vince, Sylvia Sims, Quentin, sorry if I butchered that name, Jackson, who is a cousin, and Alan Vince. All of who are there at Louisiana State Penitentiary in support of Mr. Vince. So Mr. Vince, before we get started, hearing from those who want to speak on your behalf, we'd like for you to take a moment to tell us why are you in jail and why do you think we should consider you for parole release?
I'm in jail because I committed a horrible crime. I transgressed Jeff D. Pursley, a guy that I senselessly murdered. Chris Dennis, which I injured, and Fred D. Oler. I'm here today to tell you that I wasn't a man of work then, not liking myself, even my upbringing. I really detested even the knowing of that person, of that time. I'm here today before you to let you know that I'm a man of integrity now. I didn't have any worth. I didn't feel that I had any worth in 96 from my childhood. I didn't feel like I had any worth to the world of the things that I've been through as a kid. But as taking programs here in Angola and coming to the knowledge that I can be a better person by applying these programs, I became a better person. I became a person of integrity, a person that feel like he has a work to give back into my community and even to society. And I'm very, very remorseful. And I have a soul regret in my heart. I have a soul regret in my heart that causes my life to change. I harm some innocent people. And I just want to give. That's my longing, just to give back. Just to give back. And that's what I have been doing for years. Every day, I want to know what I can do for somebody to make their life better. And that's been my life.
What is there, what can you tell us about Mr. Bennett?
Yes, ma'am. Terry has used his time wisely since he's been here. He's a model person. Trustee at Camp F, works in the kitchen. He's taken advantage of a lot of most of the programs that we have. He volunteers. He's a volunteer. He speaks to the youth tours that come here about his life, and encourages them to do the right thing. He sings on our radio. He's got a beautiful voice, and he's an accomplished artist. He paints real well. No problems. Just I wish we had a prison full of guys that act like Terry, that carry themselves like Terry.
Gary Myers.
Hey, Ms. Renata, I would like to say that, he has taken a plethora of classes, and he has also been participating in our faith-based classes here at Angola. A lot of the inmate population looks up to Terry. They are very, encouraged by the words that he speaks to them, on a daily basis, and he's very much respected by both staff and inmates here at Angola. And he only had 7 DBs in his whole 27 years here at Angola. And they all been aggravated work offenses when he was young. Thank you.
Good morning, Andrew Hunley, Executive Director, Louisiana Parole Project. We're here to let the board know that Terry Vince is a client of our organization. We've been working with Terry since 2022, since we knew that possibility of parole. As you're aware, our organization has been the primary reentry provider for juvenile lifers who have been granted release in Louisiana over the last several years. Our organization successfully worked with over 100 people who are juvenile lifers who've been able to come home to the community. So we're able to look at Terry's record and other individuals who have gotten that opportunity. As the board can see in his record, he has an outstanding work history within the prison. He's developed significant skills since he's been incarcerated, as an outstanding disciplinary and programmatic record. That leads us to believe, as a reentry organization, that if he's given the opportunity, he'd be someone that we could easily work with to help transition into the community. If he's released, Terry will come to our reentry program in Baton Rouge and will remain with us for a period of time while he transitions through programming that will provide him. While Terry does have a job plan and a long-term residence plan, we're confident that because of the skills that he's developed since his incarceration, that he'll have no problem maintaining a job and no problem finding him a job as an organization that he already has a job secured. If he's released, we'll work with him on technology skills, financial skills, communication skills, and other sorts of skills that individuals who've been incarcerated for the amount of time Terry has been incarcerated would need help with when he comes home. But based on his record, we feel like that he would be an outstanding individual to give a second chance to, and we stand prepared as an organization with housing and other support services. Stand by ready to answer any questions you may have about his potential reentry. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Ladies, would you like to?
Yes, I understand that there were going to be some other people speaking on Terry's behalf today. Is now the time to give them the chance to do that? I think Mr. Stagg is with you, and also Terry's wife, Keita, is here.
and have an indication on my record that there would be a speaker. So Mr. Stagg is here with us.
I'm a retired experience in the industry. Most of my time being spent at Angola as an assistant warden and also as a deputy warden hunt. And retired as the assistant secretary of Office of Youth Justice. Since that time, since I retired almost 3 years ago, I've been working on cases such as these, mostly juvenile labor cases. Usually working in conjunction with the offender's attorneys to do an assessment of the offender's time while he's been incarcerated. Those things is housing location history, is risk assessments, any programming you may have taken, and also do in-depth interviews with the offender himself and the security staff at the institution. What I found is unusual, because I probably know most inmates in Angola. I never met Terry before, and when I got a chance to talk to him, he was very soft-spoken, very respectful, very intelligent. I enjoyed my time. I learned some things about him that I couldn't learn in his record. One of the things I learned about him was he's been singing the national anthem at the rodeo for 10, 12 years now. That meant quite a bit to me. Confidence in Terry to showcase him in front of 10, 12,000 people every Sunday in October, and have confidence that he won't embarrass them in any way or do anything he shouldn't do. So that administration. Terry's disciplinary history is remarkable. Most inmates who come to prison, the youngest he did, have a very difficult adjustment period with, just various types of write-ups when they're young, just due to being immature and having very little experience in prison. You didn't see that with Terry. It looks like once Terry was introduced into that he was able to really focus and behave himself in a very mature and respectful manner. Like Deputy Warden Ambo said, I think he only has 7 write-ups in his jacket. Considered a pretty minor disciplinary issue. And I think it's been 13 years since he got any write-ups whatsoever. Terry's taken all the programming offered at the institution. Very active in his church, is a praise and worship leader in his church. Spoke to several current and former assistant wardens that have been around Terry for a long time. They were all extremely complimentary of him, of his character, of his work ethic, and of his influence among the population in a positive. That to me, I spoke to Amber Victoria, who is in the administration there at Angola. She was telling me that Terry is her best speaker when the young groups of kids come to Angola to do the high risk young people that come to Angola. She said that Terry lays it out fair, raw. She said he tells them exactly what he did and warns them of the dangers of doing the things or being involved in things like he was when he was young. So very honest, very open, and she was very complimentary of how he deals with those young kids who come to Angola from the school. The other thing to me that really stood out was the fact that Terry began doing all of this programming well before the Miller and Montgomery hearings were ever issued by the Supreme Court. And that told me that Terry had a desire to seek morality and to improve his character long before there was ever any hope for reward, when he thought that he would serve the rest of his life in prison. So it wasn't that he was only doing the programming for an opportunity to get out. He thought he would never get out and still saw the programming and saw the character building initiatives that he did. So it's one of the more impressive inmates I've seen in my career as far as his conduct and character.
Okay, and then the final person speaking on behalf of Terry before I sum up will be Terry's wife, Keita.
Good morning to the board. My name is Keita Vance. I'm Terry Vance's wife. I've known Terry for over 24 years and have the privilege of being his wife for the last 15 years. I currently reside in Walker, Louisiana. I've lived there for 24 years with my 2 children. I would first like to start by joining my husband in expressing my deepest condolences and sympathy for the victims and their families that have been affected by his crime. Throughout the time I have known Terry, he's always expressed genuine remorse and taken full responsibility for his actions. Terry and I pray continuously for the victims and their loved ones affected by his actions. We pray that one day the victims and their loved ones may find comfort, peace, and forgiveness. I can't stand before you today and speak on who Terry was when he was 17 years old. But I can speak on the man that I know him to be and the man that sits before you today. Terry has a heart and a love for people. He's kind and humble. But above all things, he's a God-fearing man that stands for righteousness and walks in integrity. He's never wavered in who he's been to me and my children. Terry has been a stepfather to my 2 boys. Not only a stepfather, but a friend, a mentor, and a role model. He stepped up when their father walked away. From praying with them, to helping them with homework, to talking to them about things that they felt uncomfortable talking to me about. He makes it a point to speak with them about the issues of life, to make sure that they don't make the same mistakes that he did. My boys hold Terry in high regard. They have known Terry all of their lives. I have a 19-year-old son that's here today that Terry has known since he was 6 weeks old. And I have a 16-year-old son that Terry has known since he's 4 months old. One took off from work today to come and support, and the other one took off from school to come and show their love and support for him today. They have a pure and genuine love and respect for him, and it would mean the world to them if he was granted parole today. Terry has been my best friend and my biggest supporter for over 24 years. Without him, I would not have accomplished or achieved all the things I have this far. I'm a small business owner in Walker, Louisiana for the past 11 years. Because of my profession and the nature of my business, I put my livelihood on the line today to come and speak on his behalf. Being the sole breadwinner of our household, I would not do that if I was not certain of his rehabilitation. And Terry's a different person now than who he was when he was 17 years old. I would not jeopardize my livelihood and my children's livelihood if I did not believe in him. I trust Terry with my life and the lives of my children. And my children are all I have, and I don't take that lightly. Because of who he has shown himself to do to us, we gladly welcome him into our home with open arms. We're asking the board for leniency today. If fortunate to be granted parole, Terry would transition to Louisiana Prison Projects. After completing the program, Terry would come to live with me and my boys in Walker, Louisiana. Terry has been offered full-time employment with June Ceiling and Flooring, which is also located in Walker, Louisiana. Terry has a lot of family support, as you can see. Not just family, but friends that's willing to help him with whatever he may need to be successful and help ease his transition back into society. Terry poses no threat to the community or to society. He just wants an opportunity to serve and give back. He has expressed a desire to mentor underprivileged and at-risk youth in our community. In closing today, I would like to say that I humbly stand before you with my husband, our family and friends today, respectfully asking that you would grant Terry a second chance and an opportunity to be of service to others in the community. I would like to thank the board for your consideration of Terry's application for parole today. Thank you so much.
Cannot hear. With that, oh, oh, it appears that the board is muted.
They can't hear you.
Oh, okay.
They can hear.
Can you hear us?
Yes, they can hear us.
We're-
We can hear.
So we can hear you.
You're coming in now. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir. We'd like to hear your summation.
Yes. Thank you to the members of the committee. We have sincere gratitude today that you've taken the time to consider Terry's application. I say that on behalf of my colleagues, on behalf of Terry, and on behalf of the family who have traveled, some from Mississippi, some from Ohio, some from nearby, to support him. We are deeply grateful. And then I'd like to reference what Terry referenced, which is the pain and the loss of the victims and their loved ones and the broader community. No words or deeds can take away that loss. And Terry and everyone here supporting him are deeply sorry for what happened and for what people have experienced. But as you've heard, Terry has long ago accepted responsibility for what he did and for the pain he caused. He was a young, naive, impulsive 17-year-old at the time, and he made a terrible decision that changed many lives forever. And as he's explained to you and to the victims and their loved ones, he is sincerely sorry, profoundly remorseful, and is dedicating himself to being a better person and to giving back. So the Terry who sits before you today is not the troubled 17-year-old of 1996. As you heard, immediately upon entering prison, Terry committed himself to rehabilitation, and he has, by all accounts, succeeded in every way. He's devoted himself to his faith, to serving his community in whatever way he can, and to bettering himself. He's the praise and worship leader for the Christian Brotherhood Fellowship at Angola's Camp F Church. He offers advice and redirection to young people who are at risk of making some of the same bad choices he did when he speaks to school groups and youth groups who tour Angola. As Ms. Vittoria's letter acknowledges, he is just one of 10 inmates who are bestowed with that responsibility. And I think that shows that Terry knows he cannot undo what he did, but that he can try to give back and make a positive effect on the world. Terry has also earned the respect and trust of the wardens and other correctional officials at Angola. Chief among those examples is that nearly every year since 2010, he has sung God Bless America at the Angola Rodeo in front of thousands of people. For the past 15 years, he's been a Class A trustee in Camp F. He's trusted to be a culinary worker in the dining hall. He's a diet cook. He makes food for prisoners with dietary restrictions and allergies, and he has a truly extraordinary disciplinary record. In nearly 30 years of incarceration, he's received only 7 write-ups, none for acts of violence, all for work infractions, and he has had no write-ups for the past 15 years. That is consistent with the fact that in all of the 5 previous risk assessments, Terry was found to be at low risk of reoffense. We have included in the packet, we've submitted some letters of support from some of the prison officials and others, including members of the community who support Terry. We've also included the certificates from the extensive programming that Terry has completed. Terry had a resentencing hearing last year. Dr. Loretta Dumonte is a forensic psychiatric expert who evaluated Terry personally. She has also had experience meeting with hundreds of inmates over the years. And she testified at Terry's hearing that Terry's prison record is, quote, truly astonishing and the cleanest record of any inmate she has ever encountered. And as Mr. Stagg referenced, one of the remarkable things about this is that much of the work Terry did to better himself, he started before the changes in the law from Miller and Montgomery that even made it possible for him to come before you today. I know you're familiar with the legal developments where the courts and the legislatures have recognized the science of the still developing nature of the juvenile brain, how that affects the decision-making of minors and how that should affect the way we think about punishment of them, and that juveniles are particularly deserving of a second chance. At Terry's resentencing hearing, which took place before Judge John Keller in St. Tammany Parish, the judge carefully considered the powerful and moving testimony of the victims who gave impact statements. And he considered that along with all of the other evidence, but also found that the rehabilitative work that Terry has undertaken, as well as his impressive record while in prison, were, quote, persuasive and compelling. And although he was not required to make this finding, he did. He said he found that Terry, quote, has been rehabilitated. Judge Keller gave Terry the opportunity to come before you and seek that second chance, knowing ultimately that it was up to you to decide whether Terry is entitled to release. And on behalf of everybody here and those who spoke in support of Terry in the room today, we respectfully ask that you give Terry that second chance so that, as Terry said, he can give back to the community. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Presentation. We also have some folks that are probably in opposition, and we'll hear from them. First, who we hear from is Pat Baker.
I'm here.
Good morning.
Are you ready for me to begin?
Go ahead.
Okay. I've always wondered how parents feel when they lose a child. I knew it must be the worst feeling in the world, and I knew it was something I definitely could never handle. I never dreamed it was something that would happen to me, especially if my child would be murdered. Well, now my wondering is over. There are no words to describe the feelings. Only another parent who's been through this would know what it is. Terry not only took Jeff's life that night, but he also took mine. I spent the last 30 years of my life in grief, depression, and sadness. I've had so much bitterness and hate in my heart all these years. I feel like it consumed my whole life. My whole life was gone before my eyes. For me, time hasn't healed. It's done nothing really. I have a son who was murdered at 19 years old, who never got a chance to live his life and accomplish all of his dreams. Jeff was a kind and caring and compassionate person. He loved playing football in school, and he wanted to be a game warden when he graduated. He always wanted me to be proud of him, and I was. The night Terry Vance went into that home, put a gun to Jeff's head, the back of Jeff's head, and fired that shot. In a split second, the end of an innocent, beautiful person and his dreams were ended. And what did Terry gain by killing him? Nothing. At the time of Jeff's death, I was 48 years old. Now I'm 76. These last 30 years have been so trying on me, just trying to survive my sanity. The only thing I've been able to have in my life are memories and looking at pictures. I always did try to remember my best day or my last day with him. What was the last words I said to him? Did he know how much I loved him? Did I tell him I loved him enough? And did he know how really proud I was of him? I'm getting older now, and I have lately found that a lot of my memories are starting to fade. They're not as clear as they used to be. That upsets me because I never wanted to forget anything about Jeff. I've been told that Terry has a prison ministry. He's a model prisoner, does everything that's expected of him. I'm glad he has his ministry where he can talk to other prisoners about God and maybe lead other prisoners to the Lord. He says he's found the Lord and he's truly remorseful for his actions. It's my feeling that he should definitely continue to serve the Lord, but do so inside Angola. His accomplishments I'm sorry. The fact his accomplishments in Angola are many, but the fact that he took a truly innocent life, how does being a model prisoner excuse you from killing someone? It has only been in the last few weeks that I've been really trying to release all the hate and the bitterness that I've had inside of my heart all of these years. I can never find peace within myself again, but until I try to let go some of this hate that I have inside me, I know Jeff would never want me to feel this way or to live like this anymore. Right now, I've been working and trying to place myself in that situation, forgiving someone for doing such a horrible thing. I want to get rid of all the ugly stuff I have inside me and the feelings so that I can feel better about myself. I'm truly trying, and I'm a work in progress. Saying I forgive Terry in any kind of way does not mean I forgive what he did. I want to unharden my heart from me so that I can heal. I know it's what my son would want. He would tell me that my pain has gone on long enough. My forgiveness of Terry and my feelings are for me and not for him. Terry's family, of course, wants him to get out. They've been without him for so long. Well, my family would want to have Jeff back too. We miss our child. I know I'll see my son again one day. I'm positive of that. I know right where he is, and that's what's got me through all these years.
Do you have Jay there with you?
Yes, but I would like to say one more thing, please.
All right, that's good.
Since I lost my son, I've had breast cancer and a brain tumor. There were two more unexpected occurrences in my life. Once again, I was saying, how could this happen to me? Once again, I felt anger and sadness, emotional ups and downs, personal struggles. They were nothing compared to the feelings that I've had in losing Jeff. My son was everything to me. After losing my son and struggling, just trying to keep my sanity, my illnesses were things in my life that I was able to overcome. But grief has been such a struggling part of my life, and it's hard for me to exist even with it. My family and I, every day, we live like April the 18th, 1996. I'm asking the board to please do not give Terry Vance the chance to live the life that he took from my son, Jeff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jay Cornett.
Yes, ma'am. So I would like to say, man, the things that Terry's done was being incarcerated. I guess it's to be commended. I know about making mistakes. I spent 4 years in prison when I was younger, and I can understand about your upbringing, kind of affecting your views of life and not having the support and knowing right from wrong and being taught the right way. So I think all that's great. I forgive Terry because I'm a man of God, and I've, since coming home in my 20s, I've completely changed my life and turned it around. But I didn't take another life. But that's not up for me to decide. That's between him and the Lord, and whatever happens, happens. I think whatever happens, hopefully, from what everybody's saying, it'll be a good outcome either way. If he stays there and continue to help those inmates, or if he comes home and shares his story and it helps other people from doing the same. I just, I hope he is truly a godly man, and I forgive him for what he's done. I hate that we can't have Jeff back. I feel for his mother, who has dealt with this for all these years, these 30 years, and like I said, I think it's great, his record and everything he's done. But unfortunately, we can never get Jeff back. So that's really all I have to say.
For sharing those thoughts with us, we appreciate it. Also, here in our position, we have Jody Baker. Baker.
Hi, good morning. Respectfully, board. My name is Joni Baker, and I'm Jeff Pursley's aunt. I would like to tell you a little bit about Jeff. Jeff was a vibrant 19-year-old that loved life, having fun, his friends, and his family. Jeff loved sports, especially playing football, throughout his high school career. He was especially close to all of his teammates. Jeff lived next door to me, which made him very involved in our day-to-day interactions. After school and sports, Jeff would come over to my house and spend endless hours visiting and helping me and my 3 children. He loved them so, and they so loved him. Do you know what it's like to tell your children that Cousin Jeff will never come over again? It was totally heartbreaking. Jeff was a well-rounded young man with many goals and ambitions. Would have many talks about school, his friends, his girlfriends, family, and future goals. He often talked about having his own children and family one day. After he started his career as a wildlife agent, it's what he wanted to do. He loved life and always looked for the brightness of it. He was such a good, kind young man until he was taken from us. While Jeff was with his friends and high school football teammates playing cards, having fun, and making memories with them, his life was taken. It was taken by Terry Vince. He walked in and put a gun in the back of Jeff's head and pulled the trigger. He took his life. He took Jeff from us. Terry Vince took the life, the dreams, the ambitions, the humor, that smile of Jeff's from us forever. Terry Vince had a choice. He knew going there what he was going to do, and he acted on it. He made his choice. What kind of person kills someone to show off? Your own words, Mr. Vince. I was stunting for no reason other than something to do. Mr. Terry just didn't drop something and break it. It wasn't an accident to be forgiven for. Mr. Vince chose to intentionally create malicious intended death that day. He put a gun to the back of Jeff's head and shot him. He took his life and devastated his family. Our Jeff never met him, spoke to him, or even knew of him, yet Mr. Vince chose to take his life. Respectfully to the board, why does Mr. Vance even get a chance to live his life when he chose to take someone else's? He was found guilty and sentenced by a jury. We will never get to see or touch or hold our Jeff again. For many years, we had the solace of knowing that at least Mr. Vince would sit in prison and think about his actions of that night. Time cannot change a person's heart, especially when they knew what they were doing. Mr. Vince killed Jeff, disposed of the evidence, fled the state, bragged to others about his actions, and threatened numerous people not to tell on him. Our family lives every day with heartache from his actions. Now we stand with only Jeff's memories over our gravesite. Our family respectfully asks that Mr. Vincent's sentence remain life in prison without the benefit of probation, parole, or suspension of sentence, as we also as a family are sentenced to life without our loved one. Thank you for your time.
We also have a representative from the VA's office, Mr. Butch Wilson. Still on mute, Mr. Wilson.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good morning. I'll be brief with my comments. To be clear about what really happened in this case, and Ms. Baker just said it a moment ago, this was not an accident. This man was 2 weeks from his 18th birthday. He was not a child. The victim was shot with a contact wound to the back of his head. This Mr. Vince was acting out of anger because he didn't get what he wanted during this ridiculously stupid robbery, and he shot this man point blank. Now, he was recorded after he fled the state, and this is in the report that's been submitted to the members of the board, and I'm quoting him. "If I had one more bullet, I would have got Jimmy." Think about this. During this incident, he killed one person. He shot another man too. He tried to kill 2 people, and he wanted to kill 3. So 1 murdered, 1 attempted murder, and 1 that he wished he had been able to murder. Now, we're well aware that he has acted well while he's been in prison. That's well and good. That's to be commended. But we, the members of the district attorney's office and the law-abiding citizens of this district, are not comfortable with this kind of offender among law-abiding citizens. This crime was ridiculously stupid and violent. And we do not trust someone who is capable of these actions, even with the attenuation of years. His actions during this crime were horrific, and he should serve the remainder of his sentence. Thank you.
Mr. Vance, your case has been assigned to Mr. Prater. Would you answer any questions he has?
Good morning. I think it's still morning. I have just a couple of things to go over because I want you to know we, on the board, we read these cases and there's hundreds of pages that are submitted. And we read them and read them and read them again. So we're very familiar with everything that's been said this morning already. And so I wanted you to know that. It's not something you have to educate me about. But I want to get to know your heart a little bit. In 2017, I believe at your hearing in 2017, you said at that time that you were just going to play a joke. Was it a joke or a robbery?
It was a robbery, sir. It wasn't a joke.
That's an important answer that you gave right there. I appreciate that very much. Let's see, you've been in jail now for almost 30 years. You were 17 at the time you committed the crime, and you're 46 now. Is all that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the boys that you were with that night, the 2 companions you were with, were they older than you?
Yes, they were.
And how old were they?
20 to 21.
Okay. And you were 17 and they were 20 and 21.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see if there's anything else. I believe that takes care of all the questions that I have. I want to commend you on what you've done, and we've heard all these things before, but you, and I've only been on the board now for I don't know, a year and a half or something, but I've heard dozens of these cases, and I've read about probably hundreds of these cases, and by far and away, you are the most rehabilitated, if that's a word, or have worked harder than anybody I've seen. And I'm so big on that. That's all I got.
What other community service do you do at the prison?
I talk to teenagers and children up to from 12 to 18 in colleges, law students, and so forth. I speak to them, tell them about my experience and everything, and it's where my heart is at. It's something that I want to do when if I'm given a chance. I'll never stop. It's my community service. And I'm a praise and worship leader for Camp F. And I've been doing that since 2001. A tear walker. Just aiding to the community, not just inmates, but also free folks, free personnel also.
And how long were you a tier walker?
About 2 years. About 2 years at Camp C. I'm at Camp F now. I wasn't a trustee then, but I'm a trustee now.
And that's a very, very trying job at the prison, isn't it? You're
Yes.
dealing with troubled inmates that want to commit suicide and stuff.
Yes, 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 sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Best, I just have a couple of, well, questions. You grew up you had 4 siblings?
I can't, excuse me, ma'am.
You had 4 siblings?
Yes, 4, yes.
You were the oldest?
Yes, ma'am.
And what grade did you finish in school, when you went to school?
8th grade.
And why did you quit school?
Well, I mean, I had gotten in trouble. And I had a supply, I feel like I had a supply for my family, wherever my mom was on Social Security and she was hardly ever home. So I had to provide it for them, and I had to make sure that they went to school. Sometimes we didn't have the clothes even to wear. So I would let them go to school for to wear the clothes that I was gonna wear that day, whatever. I unfortunate.
Just to put on the record, it was unfortunate, and like Mr. Prater said, we have hundreds and hundreds of pages. And a lot of it has to do with your background and where you came from. And you did grow up in terrible conditions and were given a huge, or took on rather than given a huge responsibility at a very young age to care for your siblings. And I just want to know, and you still have a relationship with all of them?
Yes, ma'am. They're here today.
Twisters there today. Yeah. All right, I don't see any other questions. I believe that we are prepared to go with Mr. Prater.
Okay, mine's, let me just tell you quickly, I'm a very hard sell. I got 50 years of law enforcement, 50 years of locking up folks like for doing what you did. And so I think I can kind of cut to the chase and get to know folks better than some folks because I've been dealing with folks. And in your particular case, I think because of all of the wonderful things you're doing, with all respect to the Baker, Pat Baker and James Baker, and my heart goes out to them. And I really listen to victims and what they say, as to all the board. But in this particular case, there's nothing else possibly that you could have done to make yourself a better person, even before you thought you were going to get a chance to get out. And that's a very significant point. My vote is to grant it.
Mr. Prater.
I echo some of the same things that Mr. Prater said there, and we do feel real sorry for the victims. But Terry, you've done a good job. My vote would be to grant. I would like him to stay at the Parole project for at least 6 months,
Yes, sir.
preferably a year.
Yes, sir.
And he has a lot of catching up to do. 30 years of school, and a lot of things have changed. And I also, after that, I want you to speak to at-risk youth for a total of 4 hours per month.
All right, Terry, I concur with my colleagues. My vote today also is to grant to the Parole Project plan with the same special condition. Good luck to you, sir. That concludes our business for tonight at your facility. We're going to sign off. All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, good morning. The Committee on Parole is reconvened. We're now at St. Tammany Parish Jail. Today is Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. It's 11:05 p.m. Would the staff there in St. Tammany please introduce yourself to the record?
Corporal Jonathan Lott.
Thank you, Corporal, for accommodating us this morning. And Mr. Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
would you introduce yourself, sir? Tell us your name and your deals.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. It's because the volume is real low. My name is Ricardo Flores, inmate 459994, ma'am.
Flores, we're here for a revocation decision this morning. Can you hear us?
I'm sorry. What was that, miss? Can you repeat that?
We're here for a revocation decision.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Do you have any paperwork that goes with you?
Yes, ma'am. I have here my completion of the programs that I took throughout my original sentence. I have
Yeah. Do you have a
just even-
parole revocation questionnaire with you?
the revocation questionnaire. Yes, ma'am. It's in front of me. Yes, ma'am.
That's your signature at the bottom of that page.
Yes, ma'am.
Based on the information in that form, you're not eligible for appointed counsel this morning. So are you ready to proceed?
Yes, I'm ready to proceed. Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Flores, your case has been assigned this morning to Mr. Baker. He'll take over from here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Flores, can you hear me all right? I'll speak up.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I could listen to you fine. Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, you're on parole and you've been on parole or probation other times, have you not?
Yes, sir. Yes. My original, I had an old case from 2002, that I had in Baton Rouge, and then this one that I caught in 2016.
Okay, what about one in Wisconsin?
Yes, sir. In Wisconsin, I was convicted there in 2010.
Okay, you got that.
Marijuana.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I can safely say that you have not followed the law or the rules of society on several occasions. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, I have made a couple mistakes throughout my life. Yes, I have to agree with you on that, sir.
Okay. And when you get out of jail, when you're allowed out on parole, then you sign that sheet that's in front of you and you say, I promise, I haven't been a good boy, but I'm gonna be from now on. And I'm gonna follow these rules, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 3 of these rules we're here to talk about today that you didn't follow. Okay.
Yes,
The first one is you absconded from supervision. You're told that you got to tell us where you work, where you're going to live, where you're going to do all, and that's part of the deal. That's part of the deal you getting out of jail. Did you do that?
Yes, sir. I was when I spoke with my parole agent, Agent Max, he gave me a written pass to go to Texas because my mother had a liver biopsy. She had cancer. Now the whole time before that, before I got that pass, I had residence. I was working. But unfortunately, because of that situation had arose with my mother, I had to go to Texas. When I went to Texas, I stayed there an additional 2 months longer than what my pass had said. But throughout those 2 months, I had communication with him. He had given me permission. He gave me a deadline to come. I back to the state. I made it back to the state within that deadline. And then due to schedule conflict, I missed 2 appointments after that fact because he had given me an opportunity to basically recant the warrant and then just go back to supervision. And we had, I believe there was a week that everything was shut down here because of the snow. And then I turned myself in that following week. I had never had plans on running, on absconding. So I took it personal responsibility to turn myself in and to handle the situation and take responsibility. I know I made mistakes in my past, but also if you could see on the times I did abscond through my original sentence in Louisiana, it was because I picked up other charges. It was when I was younger and immature. And I figured this time, because of the mistakes I made in the past, I learned from them. I figured if I turn myself in and do the right thing and own up to my mistake, well, for one, it'll give me a sense of clarity, knowing that I had control of that. And two, like my parole officer said, take responsibility. So that's why I'm here now. And I'm not here to make excuses. But I'm just here just to state what happened and the facts, and just asking the parole board for another opportunity to just go out there and keep doing what I was doing. I haven't picked up any charges. I don't have any dirty UAs. I've taken classes of substance abuse that I've took initiative on myself to do, not that I was ordered by probation or parole. And I'm just doing the best I can. That's why I figured maybe if I could get an opportunity to just do things right and learn from this mistake, sir.
Are you still wanted in Wisconsin?
I have a misdemeanor warrant but this was before I caught this initial warrant. It's a warrant that I have. Let's see, from 2010. But I picked up this Louisiana charge 2016. The thing is, it's a non-extraditable warrant. And since my incarceration, I did 5.5 years on this charge, on the charge I'm originally on parole. When I got out, I haven't had the opportunity to go back to Wisconsin. So I had spoken to my parole agent into going back and taking care of that misdemeanor warrant up there. And he said that he wouldn't revoke me if I could go and do that. So I would like to eventually go back up there. My kids are up there, and take it from day one.
Floyd, you the kind of fellow that costs these probation and parole agents an awful lot of time trying to chase down. And you told the story kind of like that Texas deal, but there was more to it than that. As far as what you were charged, it was being absconding. You kind of slippery. You're hard to find sometimes. Hard to turn yourself in. You know. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, yes, sir. Unfortunately, because I was in New Orleans at the time when I was supposed to turn myself in, I didn't have a vehicle, and financially, I was struggling economically. But throughout the whole time, I'm calling my parole agent and letting him know the situation that I that the fact that I was in the state. I was just financially, I didn't have the means to come over here, sir.
All right, let's move on. Are you supposed to be paying a certain amount of money?
Yes, sir.
Per month?
For the parole fees, it's $85. Now when I was in Texas, the parole fee over there was I think $15, and I made every fee the whole time over there. But since I came back to Louisiana, I got my parole transferred from Texas back to over here. I've had trouble financially to pay it. When I spoke to my PO about it, he said, just do the best you can. But yes, sir, I have had trouble. I have been behind on those payments, sir.
Okay, let's talk about rule, that was rule 10, and you said you were getting that one. So rule 3, you said rule 10, you said you're guilty of, and rule 13 about the anger management. Do you have your certificate for you were ordered to go to anger management?
I took anger management classes through my church. Through my church here in Covington, and then Men of Promise, which is a church out in Texas. I talked to my PO about that. He said that wouldn't be a problem. But the one that was ordered here in Covington, that one I never attended to. I went through faith-based programs, sir.
Okay, so you were ordered to get arrested and report and come back from Texas, and,
yes, sir.
And you didn't do that. You got a warrant out of Wisconsin. You were ordered to pay a certain amount of money, and you didn't do that. You were ordered to do the anger management. You didn't do that. So. This is on you. This isn't on us. This is on you.
Yes, sir.
I don't have to. Well, y'all got anything?
Is this parole officer here?
Yes, sir.
And do you have any comment? How do you come down to the microphone, please?
Yeah.
How you doing this morning?
I didn't realize you were gonna be here. And
I didn't think I was gonna be here either.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Please, state your name and then tell. Yes, sir. I'm Max Lane, here to work out the 13th District Probation Parole Officer. So, what you said about the anger management, I may have misheard you, Ricardo, but when we told you the anger management, it was about the church for anger management services, I believe. Since it's a little out of the norm, because we usually require a more stable program, I told him he gave me the information, I'd look over and approve it if I could. I was never given the information. He said he had approved the anger management once he was incarcerated, and he would see all today, but I don't have it in front of me, obviously. He is right. I told him that I would rescind the warrant if he made it back by the deadline for that warrant. Unfortunately, did not make it. He made it on 190, which is a highway, not close, but it's about an hour walking distance from our office. I told him, listen, we're going to be out for Christmas. We're going to be out for about 2 weeks. I want to give you until that time to make it in. By that time, I told him, I'm probably going to turn you in. I can't wait for you anymore. You're already out 2 months longer than you had to be. I couldn't give him any more time. Another factor that was a problem that I may have not noted, and some of my narratives I've been sending you, I've sent him already. He was being supervised by a different agent for about a month or two that actually found this out for me. He said that this agent, Agent Maggio, told him that he has a little bit of time to come in. A certain deadline, I couldn't remember the exact time. I talked to this agent. She said no such thing. She said that he was responsible for reporting media. I gave him that week because I know people get to Texas if you don't have the cash or a ride, it's kind of difficult. But being 2 months out there is unacceptable. I will say, besides that, his supervision, his communication is pretty clear. No problems reaching out to him whatsoever. It's just this, and he had a misdemeanor DAV previously that was dealt with by the court.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have a recommendation for us? You the one who got to do the work.
But, although he's been easy to communicate with, I'm at this point where I would still recommend revocation. I was gonna say real quick, sorry. Doing this job, absolutely underrated. But there needs to be some honesty actions. I believe he said there were 2 attempts. There were 4. I only marked 2 as a violation before I waited for him to come in. At one point, he said he made it from Covington to Kenner, but couldn't make it from Covington to Covington, where our office is located. That's all I really have. That's my opinion on that. Professional.
Thank you. It sounded like you handled it very professionally, and I appreciate that.
Right, well, I got it.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you're able to testify in front of all these students and professors and all about the fact that you're not the boogeyman.
Yes, sir.
You want them to succeed.
Yeah.
I'm glad that was brought out at this particular hearing. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Flores, we are prepared to vote, and make a decision. Mr. Prater will be voting for it.
I voted for revocation. I'm sorry to say it. I hope you do better. Remember the rules when you get out. You got rules. I follow rules. You got to follow.
Mr. Prater.
I concur.
Mr. Flores, my vote today also is to revoke. You know, Mr. Flores, we're going to send you some information. You will have the opportunity to reapply for re-parole. And we'll send you the information on when you can do that. Good luck to you.
I'm sorry, information on what?
When you can reapply for parole.
I don't know what that means.
You can apply for a parole hearing again.
Oh, yeah, but I still fall under the old act though, right?
That's okay. We're gonna send you some
they just cut it off.
Yep, pretty much.
Committee on Parole is reconvening in our Parish Prison. Today is Wednesday, March 2025. It's 11:30. Mr. Hollywood, is there any staff in the room with you?
Yes, ma'am. My case manager, Miss Brown.
If you'd like to have Ms. Brown introduce herself for the record.
Hi, good morning. I'm Ms. Brown, caseworker.
Thanks for helping us out today. First, Mr. Hollywood, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number, please.
Okay, my name is Jason Harold Irwin Hollywood. My DOC number is 759939. Sorry, I had to look.
That's the number I have, Mr. Hollywood. You are represented by counsel this morning. Counsel, would you introduce yourself for the record?
Yes, good morning. My name is Simone Lonis and I'm his attorney.
Thank you for being here this morning. Mr. Hollywood, your case this morning has been assigned to Mr. Freeman. I'm going to turn it over to him for the interview.
Okay, Mr. Hollywood, I'm gonna read out the conditions as alleged that you violated. You can plead guilty, not guilty with a statement, guilty with a statement, or not guilty.
Yes,
Okay?
sir.
All right, so we're alleging that you violated condition number 4 on December 5th, 2024. You were arrested for the offense of domestic abuse battery. As evident by your arrest by the New Orleans Police Department, this offense occurred on September 3rd, 2024. How do you plead to that charge?
Not guilty, sir?
Yeah, do you have a statement? I'm gonna tell you point blank up front. You best tell me the truth.
Yes, I'm going to tell you the truth,
We
sir.
got the report. Okay, so why are you not guilty?
My wife and I were having a verbal disagreement at the time, and I was having a mental health breakdown at the time, sir. I didn't know how to handle the situation, and then when she asked me to leave, I left, sir. I wrote out a I'm really nervous. I'm sorry. Huh?
Was there any physical contact between you and her?
No, sir.
So you didn't grab her around the neck, there was no choking?
No, sir.
Okay. Go ahead, figure what you say.
In early September, I had an emotional breakdown which caused my wife to become concerned with my safety. She called the non-emergency police number to get me help. We now know about the mobile crisis unit hotline, which we did not know at the time. Since my release in June of 2023, I've worked hard on building a good life and being a productive member of the community. I've maintained my sobriety. I've been clean off heroin for 10 years. I've been clean off methamphetamines for 5 years. When I first was released, I was homeless for my first 88 days. With the money that I had sent to my wife when she was living in Kentucky, when she came down in August, we were able to find housing here in the city. I wasn't able to work right off. Altogether, I've had 8 surgeries on my stomach, and I had 4 since December of 23. I had 2 in December, and I had 2 in the end of January, and I wasn't able to work until this past summer. And I found work at first driving for Uber Eats, and they fired me because of my background. And I ended up getting a job at the Bulldog, which I had just started working there for the last few months, and I got promoted to kitchen manager. My wife and I had a very heated disagreement. We had a very bad argument, and I love her very much. And I'm sorry that I'm here in front of you guys. I did 17 months on parole with no issues, and I'm ashamed of myself because I did lose control of myself, and I was very loud, I was very verbal, and I was very angry. And I'm newly diagnosed with both bipolar type 1. I'm still learning how to deal with the symptoms of it. I have not missed any medication since I've been prescribed. I went to Crescent Care in New Orleans on my own volition to deal with my mental health problems. I asked for a referral from my doctor. Her name was Dr. Robin Ivester. My psychiatrist's name is Dr. Wesley Leftwich. And I've been working very closely with them for the last year and a half.
And your supervision fees, which, you were behind on them, but as you stated, you sending money to your wife and, you didn't get employment till later.
I sent money to my wife while I was incarcerated, sir.
Oh, okay.
I should have clarified that. When I was at Plaquemines Parish, I was receiving back child support payments from the state of New Hampshire. And I sent $5,000 to my wife to help build. So when I got out, when I first got out, she wanted to see if I was gonna fall back into old behaviors, and I didn't. And then she came down in August.
Okay. Okay, I think your wife is, Patience Hollywood. Are you wrong, Miss Hollywood?
You have to unmute, Ms. Patience.
And then do you want to show your face?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hello.
What do you have to say? First off, I want to ask you, was there any physical contact?
Sir, to be 100% honest with you, the only physical contact that happened was Jason did aggressively wrap himself around me and was trying to calm me down because I was in a mental crisis. I'm schizophrenic. And in that moment, sir, if I can be complete, candid and open and honest with you, I was in a moment where I was outbursting that my whole life was over. I was giving him up and my support people and everything. I was having a crisis of my own. And Jason was trying to hold me and saying that, I love you, I love you. He kept repeating that. And I wasn't receptive to any of that in that moment. I was angry and was flaring my arms and asking him to let me go, which he immediately did. And he jumped up, and that's when Jason had self-harmed himself. This whole situation, sir, is because I wish I would have known that there was support in place for mental health services. I didn't know what to do in the situation when it happened. The situation happened where Jason let me go. Like I said, he was trying to wrap himself around me and hold me and say, I love you, I love you. And then I was non-receptive, upset and yelling and flaring my arms, and he jumped up, let go of me, opened up the kitchen door, stabbed himself. And then I knew in that moment, that flash of a second is when I left, because all this happened in the kitchen. I left out of the kitchen, went into our bedroom, Googled the police department because I didn't know who to call. I needed help. I wanted help. I needed help for him, and I was scared to death, sir. I thought I was going to be arrested because when I did finally get contact after Googling the police department, first I called the wrong parish. They directed me to the right parish, but by the time I had somebody on the phone, Jason was claiming that I had done it. And sir, I was so scared. And when the police asked me if I was in fear of Jason, I said yes, because I was in fear of what Jason was potentially going to say, that I had harmed him. Because that's what he was claiming when I was on the phone with services, asking him to leave, backing him up, and he was backing up, the door closed. And now I told services dispatch that he left the premises and that I no longer needed services, that he was no longer there. And then after that, the police ended up dispatching anyways, but in the meantime, I had called his parole officer because ultimately I just needed help and didn't know what to do and who to contact. Now I have a different perspective and picture, Your Honor. And I do want to point out that at the time, I was not medicated, sir. Now I am medicated and have support in place. I really firmly feel, because of my lack of medication, because of my lack of self-control that I had within myself. It caused Jason to have the break that he did, and I feel highly responsible that I caused Jason to self-harm himself because it was such a snap decision of him.
He barely stabbed himself. He kind of punctured himself on the arm. There wasn't even no blood.
To me, it was a stab. I saw.
Okay, I want to ask you this question. I mean, both of y'all. Okay, there's marks on your neck. We can see it with the body cam. So there was no physical contact?
The physical contact that was Jason was aggressively, he had wrapped himself around me and tried hugging me. And I believe with me flaring my arms and trying to wiggle out of that, it was either that caused it, or I have a pit bull, sir. Jason, he wasn't intentionally he wasn't trying to harm me. He was trying to calm me down. And I feel like because of my actions, it had caused Jason to react even more irrational. And Jason did the appropriate thing and left the premises, not once, but twice.
All right. Oh, does the attorney wish to comment?
Yes. Yes. Good morning. Again, I'm Simone Lonis. I'm Mr. Hollywood's attorney. I'm speaking today to advocate for his release. I've been working with Mr. Hollywood for over 3 months now, and throughout the time working with him, I feel that I've come to know his character. The underlying charges that led to this hearing were promptly dismissed by the district attorney's office only 14 days after Mr. Hollywood's arrest. They were dismissed because Ms. Hollywood, as you heard, was clear that the police should have never been involved in what was actually a mental health episode. Ms. Hollywood did call the non-emergency line, and she was clear on the phone that she no longer needed services. Now, Mr. Hollywood has been put in touch with client service advocates from our office. One is on the Zoom who would like to speak as well. He also receives therapy and medication services from Crescent Care, and so this is not a situation that would happen again. Mr. Hollywood was doing well on parole prior to this arrest. He was late on fines and fees, but as you heard, he was unable to work for some time due to some serious surgeries that he had. And after being medically cleared to work, he did begin working and was even promoted. His boss did submit a letter of support as well. Now that he does have steady income, he does fully intend to begin paying back the fines and fees. Overall, Mr. Hollywood has positively contributed to society by becoming gainfully employed, seeking out and getting mental health treatment, and maintaining his sobriety for over a decade. And so I do believe that he's capable of continuing to positively contribute to society if released. And so I'm wholeheartedly voicing my support for his release today. Thank you.
I think the client advocate is, and I'm gonna probably pronounce this wrong, Juan Chicon.
That is me, and thank you for pronouncing my name correctly and asking. My name is Wan Chi. I'm a client advocate. I'm also the deputy supervisor of the Client Services Division, which is a division at the Orleans Public Defenders that offers social services and reentry planning. So I've had the pleasure of getting to know Mr. Hollywood, and I'm actually speaking on behalf of his advocate, Mia Barr, who I supervise. She's actually out sick today. But as you heard from Mrs. Patience and from Simone, the incident for which Mr. Hollywood was arrested was a mental health crisis. And we've come up with a plan together to ensure that he will remain stable outside of custody. I think one very remarkable thing that I want to state about Mr. Hollywood is that in this whole process, he has been an amazing self-advocate. There has not been a single thing that has been pushed upon him. He has suggested these things proactively for himself, and he's very actively engaged in his own success. So yeah, really, truly outside of this isolated incident that led to this charge that, has now been refused, he's really done so much to uplift himself with the support of his community. And so what that means is he has stable housing uptown. We've provided the address in the release plan proposal. He has gainful employment at the Bulldog. And I'd be remiss not to state that it's pretty remarkable that he's been incarcerated for a few months and his employer still wants him back. I think that speaks very highly to his work ethic, his discipline, and his reliability. Most employers would not advocate and write a letter of support and take that amount of effort to rehire someone and promote them when they've been gone for several months due to carceral challenges. And then speaking to the mental health crisis that Mr. Hollywood was going through, we've come up with a plan to ensure that he'll be more supported. So Mr. Hollywood advocated for himself to get medication management and treatment through Crescent Care, which is an organization that enhances the self-sufficiency of people living with mental health disorders to live and function independently. And we've also talked to both Mr. and Mrs. Hollywood about the Mobile Crisis Intervention Unit, or MCIU. That is an emergency non-law enforcement line that is available to empower folks to intervene in crises, such that, in this situation, police were not necessary, and rather mental health social workers and mental health professionals would have probably been much more helpful in that situation. And so I believe that the Hollywoods will be much more successful, and advocate for Mr. Hollywood to be released as soon as possible. Thank you.
Been working with them upon his release to make sure his mental health medication.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Are y'all gonna continue working with them after his release to make sure?
Yes. Yes, the fantastic thing about client services is that even though we are housed within the public defender office, our cases are not married to the legal case. So even after the legal case closes and Mr. Hollywood is hopefully released, the client advocates and social workers at our office continue to work with people after release. And so in this situation, his advocate, Mia Barr, will continue to be available for service navigation, different referrals, like whatever other goals Mr. Hollywood has, even if these things are not court mandated or parole board mandated. We've seen that Mr. Hollywood, is very invested in pursuing personal goals. And so, we've been fantastic at that. And I will say, like, with different people, and obviously everyone is different, like we've helped people go back to school. We've helped people process grief in different like restorative circles, like whatever it is, the sky is truly the limit with an advocate. So yes, we will remain available.
Does the probation officer have anything to add?
She was stuck in court.
Sir?
She was stuck in court.
Okay. I have no further questions.
All right, I don't see any other questions. Mr. Hollywood, I think we're prepared to vote on your case, so Mr. Freeman will be voting first.
Okay, Mr. Hollywood, and I understand the mental crisis part, but I think there was some domestic abuse battles there also, but it happened during a mental breakdown. Today, I'm gonna choose, not to revoke you, but in lieu of revocation, I want you to continue with the work of, Ms. Chu at the,
Yes, sir.
governor's office.
Concur.
Mr. Hollywood, I also agree. I'm not certain whose mental health crisis it was in that situation. So I'm glad to know that client services is working with both of you. So my vote today is the same as Mr. Freeman's, with the requirement that you do avail yourself to the client services division services that they're providing. So
Yes,
we're gonna
ma'am. I also have a case manager with the Travelers Aid Society of New Orleans. His name is Benton Moss.
follow up with that too. Yes. So good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Supervision. That concludes our business for today, so we're gonna adjourn. It is 11:48.